So with all the social distancing going on, Zoom games are the new way to party. And of course, we've covered some really fun Zoom games that you can play during your virtual game night. But sometimes you may be hosting a really large game night and you want to know what are the perfect Zoom games that you can play with a large group. So today I'm going to share with you 7 really fun new Zoom games that you can play with groups. Hi, welcome back, fun parents. And if you're new here, welcome to Everything Asha, where we do parenting the fun way. Each week we do parenting the fun way by learning fun family games and ways to educate our children, because it's family bonding and knowledge that will truly work hand in hand in order to shape the future in a child's life. So join a community of fun parents dedicated to shaping the future by liking, subscribing, and clicking the bell. Today we're going to go over 7 really fun Zoom games that you can play with a big group of people. If you missed any of my other videos on Zoom games, then I suggest you check them out because they're full with lots of fun Zoom games. Game number 1 is called Codenames, and what you will do is divide up everybody into 2 teams, a red team and a blue team. I added the link below in the description to the link that you will need in order to play this game, and everybody will click the link. Each team will have one designated spy master, and they will get a board that has all the color-coded pieces. Now, in order to make the game go really smooth, I would choose one other person, not the spy master, to screen share their screen so that everybody gets a really clear picture of the board. The object of this game is to be the first team to get all of your designated pieces. Now, the spy master's objective is to try to get their team to guess their team's pieces. But in order to do that, they can only say one word. You can get your team to guess one piece at a time by saying one word, hand. And then that way they know how many pieces they're trying to think of when they hear that one word that you say.
Foot.
Or you can do something complicated by saying
Success for 2.
I think you need a key in order to be successful.
You also need a degree.
they have to find the connection between certain pieces. Now, of course, on the Spy Master's board, there are certain pieces that aren't worth any points. And of course, there's the ultimate black piece. And if your team guesses that black piece token, the game is completely over and you have forfeited your team's turn. So make sure you don't guess that piece. And then of course, if your clue wasn't really good, your team can potentially guess a card for the other team. And that means they just scored for the other team. The first team to guess all their team's correct pieces wins.
Blue turn for 2. Summer.
Cool.
Water's blue.
Once your team has guessed your piece, you will go ahead and click end turn, and it's the next team's turn. Now this next game I made up is called Poses, and it's really similar to Thumb Master, how when one person puts their thumb on the table, then everybody has to quickly join suit and you don't want to be the last person to figure it out. Well, that's pretty much how Poses works, and it's the perfect game to play during an intermission. The host of the game night will put in the chat and individually send a chat to a person saying tag, you're it, and then that person becomes the pose master. And then they have the opportunity to keep it, and then they're the pose master, or they can secretly chat another person and then that person becomes the pose master. And at any given point in time, a person can send a message back to the original pose master or even the person that chose them, or they can simply choose to become the pose master. The cool part is nobody knows where the typing thread stops, and once the timer goes off, then whoever was the last person to become the pose master, they're the official pose master for the game. Then each person will choose one pose that they will keep for the duration of the game, and everybody will go around and learn each other's pose. This way you have one designated pose per person. When the rounds begin, the host will say
1, 2, 3 pose.
Everybody will do the pose of who they think is the pose master. Everybody will hold their pose for about 3 seconds, and then the host will say 1, 2, 3 pose, and then you get to switch up your pose. Now, of course, the pose master's job is to try to not get caught, but of course, there's always a catch. And the catch is, if someone does the pose master's pose, then the next round, the pose master must do their own pose. So you have to be paying attention.
Alright. 1, 2, 3, pose.
But if in that next round nobody did the pose master's turn, then they can then start doing someone else's pose. But of course, whoever did the pose master's turn originally hopefully was paying attention, because now they're gonna do the pose master's pose again, and then the next round the pose master has to do their own pose. And you'll continue to do this until everybody catches on, and the last person to guess the pose master loses and they're out the game.
1, 2, 3, pose.
And you will continue to do this until you're left with 2 players, and then those 2 players are the pose champions. Now this next game is an oldie but goodie, but Hangman is another really fun virtual online game that you can play with a big group during your game night. All you need is the whiteboard feature. You will divide up everybody into 2 teams. One person from each team will go at a time, and they will do their little hangman, and they will have their team, and of course you'll have a bank of letters. Each team member on that team gets to guess a letter, and that person will write a sentence or a simple phrase, and they will go ahead and put a line for each letter in a word. I simply recommend putting numbers, that way people know where the words are, but you don't have to do this. Each player from that person's team will get to guess a letter.
Okay.
Hey.
If that letter appears in the phrase, anywhere in the phrase, then they must write the letter as many times as that letter comes up in the blank space that represents that letter. If the letter is not in their phrase, then you will go ahead and write that letter to the side of the board and then add a body part. If you guess the phrase before the entire body of Hangman is filled out, then that team gets a point.
Full.
L.
Oh,
If your Hangman has all his body pieces before the phrase is figured out, then the other team gets a point. And you will continue to trade off between teams until the first team gets 5 points. This next game is actually a shout out to Angela Wall. Woo! She came up with a brilliant idea of doing like a comedy hour. So this next game is a good old comedy hour. And what you would do is allow everybody to find their funniest riddle or joke or even YouTube video. Everybody will then share their joke or YouTube video or meme, whatever it is.
What did the ocean say to the sand?
Once everybody has shared their joke or riddle, everybody will vote on who the funniest person was.
What did
the ocean say to the sand?
Why do I feel like it waved or something like that?
Right.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Wait. Have y'all heard this?
You said does or doesn't have a tail?
Does not have a tail.
Does not have a tail.
I give
I
up.
want to say a hot dog.
It's a hot dog, yeah.
And then that person gets awarded the comedian award.
Y'all silly.
This next game is red light, green light. And you might be wondering, how in the world would you play red light, green light on Zoom? Well, let me show you how. You want to choose one person to be the caller, just like regular red light, green light. All the other players must set up their computer or phone and take 10 steps away from their device. Now make sure they're taking 10 big steps back so it's fair. We don't want cheating. It's not fun. Then the caller must say
Green light.
and everybody kind of walks towards their screen. Then when they call
Red light.
you must freeze. The caller will look at your screen, and if the caller sees you moving, she will say you have to go all the way back to the beginning and start all over again. The first person that types in the word here in the chat box wins, and then they become the new caller. The next one is another recommendation from one of you guys, and it is simply hide and seek. Yes, you heard it, hide and seek virtually. I must say it was quite a challenge. When I read the comment, I was like, hide and seek, but I figured out the perfect way to play hide and seek on Zoom. So everybody will divide up into 2 teams. Each team will rotate rounds. It's really funny being on the other team because you're watching everybody act silly. But in order to do this, the host must disable the waiting room, because if you have the waiting room, it won't really go very well. So make sure you have the waiting room disabled where a person can easily enter the Zoom meeting and exit the Zoom meeting without you having to accept them. During a team's turn, one person will actually be the person looking for everybody, and that person will leave the meeting. They will then set a 3-minute timer and then rejoin the group in 3 minutes. During that 3 minutes, everybody else on that team sets their screen where you can easily see their entire room. And then they must hide until the person comes back on the call, and then the person that comes back on the call has to find where everybody in their team just hid.
I think Aja is behind the couch. Or I think Aja is, I don't know, maybe she's on the floor under that blanket.
For each correct hiding place, that team gets a point. And you will continue to do this rotating teams until everybody has had a chance to find all their team members, and then the team with the most points wins. Once you have your online game night, I would love to know which one of these games was your favorite game to play. Let me know down below in the comments. And don't forget, if you haven't checked out any of my other Zoom videos, please make sure you check them out. Okay, so our next game is head, shoulder, knees, and toes. Now this game is like a teamwork game. You don't really have teams or points or a winner or loser, but it is really fun to play. Everybody will set their device and stand up so that you can see all your body parts. The object of this game is to get everybody to touch the same body part at the same time. During each round, the host will say, 1, 2, 3, go. Everybody will put their hands on either their head, shoulder, knees, or toes. You will then hold your position and look on the screen and try to see exactly what body part everybody else touched. So you kind of have to read each other's mind and continue to turn around and say 1, 2, 3, turn until everybody eventually gets the same body part and you guys work together to think alike. You know, like one mind. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. If you're not a member of the community already, join us fun parents by shaping the future through fun and education. So like, subscribe, and click the bell. See you later.
Y'all just throwing out letters. Like, what?
The chicken cross the road.
How did the chicken cross the road?
There's too many versions of answers to this question.
What do you call a pig that does karate?
Pork chop.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, y'all.
Green light. Red light. And there's only 2 colors, right?
I'm about to call some of y'all out.
Yeah, I'm calling out the person.
I'm about to call you out.
I'm calling you out, Kiana. Come out. When you get it, it's really